I'm Yesenia Taveras. Welcome to La Conexión, The Connection, a television show that seeks to connect the Hispanic community to programs and services that are in support of them. Children and Families First provides a variety of services to our Delaware residents, and to help us better understand this organization, I have here with us Sandra Carines and Wadeen Taliaferro. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, one of the programs that the organization offers is Delaware Cares, and from my understanding, there is a huge Hispanic population that comes to these programs. So can you tell us a little bit about Delaware Cares and what is this program?
The state of Delaware actually requires that parents that are currently in the process of divorce or looking for custody, they need to take this parenting class. So Children and Families First offers it in Spanish. It's a class that is given over 2 weeks. It provides a lot of different information for parents. You know, divorce is a very difficult thing, not just for the parents, but for the children. So it kind of helps guide parents in dealing with issues that their children may have, how to communicate with them, conflict resolution, a lot of different things that they're going to encounter through the whole process while they start the divorce or custody procedures all the way until the end and afterwards.
Now, the divorce rate here, unfortunately, in America is very high. So there are a lot of problems that families face. What topics are discussed in these type of classes?
Anger management, loss, coping with loss, also communication skills, because it's so essential that parents are able to work with their children to help them cope with divorce or separation. Mm-hmm. One more thing that I would like to add about the program is that it's also designed for those parents seeking custody and or visitation. So it's not just separation and divorce, it's also to help them go through that transition of setting up custody or visiting.
Okay, and along with these different type of topics that you cover, if I don't speak English and I'm going through the divorce process, like I said, there's numerous things. Domestic violence is a huge one as well. Can I attend these type of classes?
The class this particular class is very good for Hispanics because not just from learning about the topics, but it's a good support network for the parents themselves because they can kind of communicate with other parents who may be in a different part of the process or who may be going through a similar experience and kind of learn how to navigate, you know, from going to court to getting your papers to filling them out to, you know, just kind of dealing with the different things that are going to come up through the, you know, through the whole process and everything. You know, they can kind of talk to each other about how to communicate with their kids, their spouses, you know, how to kind of prepare for when they go for mediation, when they're trying to decide how visitation is going to work. So it's a good, you know, kind of resource for all types of parents who are dealing with these issues.
What are some of the long-term benefits? Is there like something in particular that really is impactful for these families?
I think that, of course, it's a 6-hour course. But we see parents' parenting skills impacted. They come away with better parenting skills, better able to communicate with their children, better able to accept issues that their children have and to work with them.
And is there a cost for these classes? And if so, what's the price?
Yeah, there is a fee. It can go up to $75, but we work on a sliding scale. So if there's, you know, certain financial hardships that parents have, they can communicate that when they're doing the intake, and then we can kind of work with them there. So, you know, it can vary from up to $75 up to some who may not have to pay or just pay a minimum amount. So we try to make it accessible for everybody.
And there are a lot of rules when filing for divorce when it comes to these parenting classes. But if you are a full-time working parent, are there different times that these classes are offered, or are they offered throughout certain months? Like, how does that work?
We sort of switch. We do Monday evenings from 5 to 8, and we also do Saturdays from 10 to 1.
And can you like give us a vision of what a typical class would be like?
Well, normally it's set up in 2 sessions. So the first session, you know, we do a lot of paperwork. You know, we have them do a pre-assessment so we can kind of know what they know about the different topics that we're going to cover. So they do that, and then we do introductions where everybody kind of shares a little bit about themselves, what why they're there, to kind of help them start forming that connection, because I think one of the biggest benefits that they get out of this class is being able to learn from each other. So, you know, we try to get them comfortable in the beginning, we discuss what we're going to cover, and then from that point on, it's really great because you see them kind of start to work together and work with each other. And I mean, I love it. I feel like by my second class, at the end, my parents leave like exchanging phone numbers because they found such great support with one another that, you know, once they leave this class, they may not be coming back for another class, but they have met people that might be able to help them in the future, you know, when they're dealing with all these different issues that are going to come up, you know, not just at that moment, but in the future as well.
And that's very important because this is a difficult process to go through, and having others there as a support group is something that's very vital during this process.
Definitely.
And is there a mandatory amount of classes that these parents have to attend?
It's 2 over a 2-week period.
Okay.
So if they start on a Monday, they'll finish the following Monday.
And if a parent is currently going through divorce, or one who would like to know more about these classes, what do they need to do, or who do they reach out to?
We have a resource helpline, which is another word for intake department. So a parent would call, and that number is 1-800-734-2388. And it'll take about 10 minutes to get certain information. And it begins the process of registration.
And what are some of the things that Children and Families First does to really try to just bring down the anxiety level while attending these classes?
Well, they definitely explain during the intake, you know, what the class is all about, what the schedule is, and they also, you know, try to get some information about the other parent, because we want to make it as comfortable as possible. And when there's separation, divorce, things like that, sometimes there can be some conflict between both parents. So always try to make sure that we schedule them for different classes if both parents have to attend, so that each parent can feel comfortable sharing and talking openly about what their situation is.
Wonderful. Y Sandra, si quieres decir algo en español, puedes decirlo algo.
Sí, para los papás que están interesados en tomar la clase, que están en el proceso de divorcio, custodia o separación, ellos pueden llamar a nuestra línea de recursos en el 1-800-734-2388.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for
I really
having us.
appreciate you coming
Thank
out
you.
and joining us on La Conexión. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having us.
Not a problem. You're welcome. Stay tuned. We'll return after these short messages. % of those diagnosed with lupus are women, and 2 to 3 times more found in minorities, including Hispanics. I have here with us Annette Myrick and Maria Puchon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
These ladies are actually going to help us understand more about the lupus disease and how it affects not only Hispanics, but all those different types of races here in Delaware, because you are from the Philadelphia Tri-State chapter.
Right, the Lupus Foundation of America.
And we do have outreach programs and events that are here in Delaware.
Yes, that's right. We have a regional office in Wilmington.
Okay, wonderful.
Excuse me.
So can we start off with basically understanding what is lupus?
Sure. Well, we all have an immune system, and that protects us from things like bacteria and viruses and infections. When someone gets lupus, their immune system gets out of balance, and the body makes antibodies, but there isn't anything to protect you against, and so those antibodies actually attack yourself. So they build up, that results in inflammation, and that inflammation can damage or destroy any organ or system of the body. The heart, the lungs, the brain, the kidneys, the skin, the joints, the blood. Any cell is really a potential target. It does affect women 90% of the time, so we know that there's some kind of a hormonal connection.
Okay, and what are some of the symptoms that we can look out for?
The most classic symptom is fatigue and weakness and joint pain. And fatigue in the sense that you could sleep 6 or 8 or 10 hours and still wake up and feel like you've been run over by a truck. And if you think about what the body's doing with the immune system, that seems a little bit logical. Right. People also may experience mouth ulcers, hair loss, very common rashes on the skin, or what we call the butterfly rash across the cheeks and the bridge of the nose. People may have pain when they take a deep breath, indicating that there's inflammation in the lungs. If you get to a physician, you might be anemic on blood work, or a urinalysis might show protein in your urine, indicating that the kidneys are not working properly. But the joint pain and the fatigue are what people experience in that onset, maybe a fever that doesn't go away.
What are some of the impacts that this lupus disease has on an individual who is suffering from this? I know Maria, she's actually, I don't want to say suffering, but she's diagnosed with lupus. So how does it affect someone who is living with this on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it really affects you as long as you let it affect you. Lupus is a very mind-controlling illness as well. If you're a person that is very positive and willing to take care of yourself, eat healthy, and keep track of what you're doing, it could have very little impact on your everyday life. But if you get depressed and you let that control your life, then lupus could really ruin you and leave you in bed and you just can't get up.
Now, I know you're a mother, and you're a hardworking individual.
Yes.
So what are some of the challenges that you face with this lupus disease?
Remembering that I have lupus. I'm always on the go. Besides being a mom, I have my own business that I take care of. I have a lot of members that I watch after. And sometimes I forget that I have an illness, that I need to rest, that I need to eat healthy. So honestly, that's the biggest challenge for me.
And does this affect you a lot during the day, or can it just have its type of flare-ups?
It has flare-ups. There's times when I'm completely healthy and feel normal. And then there's days I wake up and I'm really tired, like she said, and I slept, but I still feel like I haven't slept at all. And I get the rash, I get swollen one moment and I'm okay, and then someone sees me, oh, you gain a lot of weight. No, I didn't gain weight, I'm just swollen today.
Right, and that leads me to my next question. With Hispanics, a lot of us sometimes don't like to go to the hospital or go to routine doctor checkups. When did you find out that you had lupus, and how did you find out?
It was around 2007, and actually I had a devastating event in my life. And that led me to go to the hospital, and I was very sick, and for a long time we couldn't figure out what it was. Okay. And my family actually didn't want me to give up. They kept saying, keep doing research. Back then, they didn't know as much as they do now. And even though it's been such a short period of time, a lot has changed as far as diagnosing lupus. But my ologist was the one that found out that I actually did have lupus, and he was the one that brought it to my attention.
Wow.
There's no blood test that's a yes, you do, no, you don't have lupus. And so the symptoms and the history of those symptoms is an important part of the diagnostic process. So there's 11 diagnostic criteria, but because, as Maria said, the symptoms flare up, but then they also remit naturally. And so particularly in a disease that affects women, you feel bad, you push through. You don't wallow, you forget that and you push through. And then if it keeps coming and keeps coming, eventually you call the doctor, but by the time you go to the doctor, you forgot about the first episode or the second episode. And that can make the diagnosis very difficult to achieve. So we encourage people to keep a little health journal, record, particularly if there are triggers that flare up your lupus. Every case of lupus is very individual, and that's one of the challenges we face in terms of advancing the medicine and science, because there's no predictability.
And now, is this a life-threatening disease? Like, should we be looking at our children very early in age, preferably our daughters? Well,
lupus can be mild, it can be moderate, and it can be life-threatening. And unfortunately, people can move back and forth on the continuum.
Okay.
Because it's an unpredictable disease. So knowing what your body responds to or what might trigger the flare-up is an important part in terms of good self-management. Because populations are affected more often with lupus, we know there's a genetic predisposition, but it's not one single gene that makes you the carrier like you might hear with sickle cell or some other diseases. Okay. So there are lots of facets that come into play, and there are actually environmental triggers as well. So many people with lupus have sensitivity to the sun. That's one environmental trigger, but that could also be, you mentioned a life-changing event, some kind of thing that really elevates your stress could sort of flip that immune system on, which then gets out of balance. Or it could be a virus, or even medication sometimes.
Very, very important information. And before we leave, can we tell us what the Lupus Foundation of America Philadelphia Tri-State Chapter is doing to help those in Delaware who are living with lupus?
We have a variety of programs and services. First and foremost is funding research and keeping the movement forward on the medicine and science of lupus. And to help those living with lupus, we have several support groups throughout the state. We do self-help courses. Coming up on Saturday, we have our Living Well with Lupus Symposium. So a variety of educational programs, some in the community, some by telephone, so that you can access it from your home and don't need to line up a babysitter and things like that. We do peer counseling, information and referral, among other things.
And I just want real quick before we leave, Maria, just to share with us the recent walk that we had and how you had your friends wearing purple and supporting heads. That's why we have purple on today.
Yes.
Touch bases with that real quick before we leave.
Yes, well, the Lupus Foundation did the walk. It's a walk that they do every year. It's to bring awareness. They also do have support in Spanish. You could contact India Colon. I know a lot of the community members know who she is, so don't be afraid if you have lupus to reach out. There's someone that speaks Spanish, so please give them a call and don't ignore it. It's not going to go away.
Y si quieres decir algo en español, tú puedes decirlo ahora también.
Si tienes algunos síntomas o crees que tienes lupus, por favor, comunícate con tu doctor o comunícate con la Fundación de Lupus. Sabes que te podemos ayudar.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for
I really
having
appreciate it. Thank you, Maria, for joining us. We'll be back after these short messages. The Delmarva Council, Boy Scouts of America, is really reaching out to our young Hispanics. And I have here with us Maritza Gonzalez and Councilwoman at Large, Maria Cabrera. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you for coming. Let's just start off with the Boy Scouts of America and their initiative to reach out to Hispanics.
The Delmarva Council, Boy Scouts of America, started their emphasis in 2008 in order to reach out to Hispanic families and bring them the awareness of scouting and kind of clear up the misconception of scouting. That scouting is only for a certain amount of people, that they're associated with immigration, that we could share the information with, with the immigration and things like that. So in 2 years ago, we hired a Hispanic staff member in order to recruit leaders to reach out to the community, let them know that we're here and that the program is for everybody. It's not necessarily just for the rich folks.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And Councilwoman at Large Cabrera, you had an actual event that you chaired. Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement?
Yes, well, I was very honored to have been asked to chair the Hispanic Outreach event and work very closely with Maritza and the others in our office to set up a series of meetings with influential people in the community and everyday folks and community leaders to make them aware, to really promote awareness, but to let them know that yes, scouting is for everyone, but most importantly, how scouting can shape a young boy's life as he evolves into a young man. My experiences with scouting as a Girl Scout, I have not forgotten them. There's many things that I've learned. I've learned to be prepared. I've learned to build a fire with 3 matches, and sometimes you do need that experience. But you learn about respect. You respect everything, nature, each other. You learn about service, community service, and that's important. And right now, as we know, there's many issues that we have in the inner city. So imagine if we're able to have those young boys and young men belong to an organization that has positive affirmations, positive influence, and also to bond with men, fatherly figures perhaps, because some of these young men are from families, single mothers, and to have different experiences that take them out of the city, to go camping, to learn what it is to have survival. I think it builds morale, it builds respect, and it builds self-esteem. So I believe that scouting is very important. I've always been an advocate for Girl Scouting and for Boy Scouts, and my son is a member and he absolutely loves it.
That's wonderful. And how do you guys, the Boy Scouts of America goes about reaching out to the parents? There might be that language barrier. Some Hispanics are just Spanish speaking only. So how do you reach to those parents who know nothing about this program, they don't speak English, but you want them to have their son involved?
Okay. The way that we reach out to families is, first of all, we partner with local businesses or organizations such as the Latin Community Center, the YMCA, Warner Street YMCA, and schools that have a high percentage rate of Hispanic families. And I will go in and talk to the families about the program. We do this all in Spanish. Our literature is in Spanish. We deliver the program in Spanish. We hire what we call program specialists, scout leaders, that are Spanish speaking in order to deliver the program in Spanish. But what I found is that a lot of the parents, even though they don't necessarily speak the language the children speak both languages, and they want to intermix with regular, what we call traditional units, whether it's a pack or group of boys that are mixed, whether they're African American, Caucasian, whatever it is. They don't want to just have just that Spanish formation or that Spanish group. They want to mix in with other groups so they could get a feel of all different cultures.
And Councilwoman Cabrera really touched base on some of the activities that takes place, being involved. Can you tell us a little bit about what Cub Scouts really is?
Absolutely. Cub Scout is a program that provides, teaches a young man how to be self-sufficient, self-confidence, builds character, leadership, and they do this through a set of activities, whether it's camping, hiking, team building. They get all these fields of different activities that they put them in a position that they are leaders. So they develop themselves.
Volunteering, civic service.
That is correct. They have to do community service. So we give back to the community. This year, all of the locations that we have are adopting the location in order to give them back, give something back to them by doing a community service, whether it's planting a tree, participating in the book fair, and things like that, public speaking.
Okay.
And things like that. So we're building those leaders of tomorrow.
And now this next question is actually for the both of you. When one thinks of Boy Scouts, they think of men. And here we have two strong Latina women. So can you tell us about your involvement and why you're involved and how you got involved?
I would love to do that. I am a single mom. I have a 8-year-old boy. He is a Cub Scout. And I actually I got involved with Scouting through my ex-husband. We parted ways, and I needed a job, and he says, I think you will be phenomenal for this position. So I applied, and I just didn't take no for an answer. I just kept, this is something that I want to give to my son and give to my community as well. I want to get involved and just get back to the community, and I think that was a shoo-in.
And Councilwoman Cabrera, your involvement?
Well, I have 4 children, and my oldest son was a Boy Scout. So I was already involved in Scouting long before I came on board with Maritza, and now that I have a 9-year-old, he's also involved in Scouting. I still have some of the things that my son made for me, like this little watermelon cutout in wood. It still sits in my kitchen, so they learn carpentry, they learn different things. But also, as a single mother, my concern is that I did want him to, first of all, to be exposed, to do different things, and to also have that accessibility. Now, it's just not women, we're called den mothers when you have a troop, and sometimes you find that the little ones need more of that nurturing, so you have den mothers, but you do have phenomenal men that are scout leaders that the boys tend to identify with, and that's important. But they still have to have a few mamas around.
Yes, definitely. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. But if there's something you want to share with our Spanish-speaking only audience, this would be a perfect time to do that.
Well, I would like to say, si la familia están interesado en saber sobre Scouting, que se pongan en comunicación conmigo, Marixa González. Mi número de teléfono es 302-530-9441.
Igual a mí me pueden llamar aquí en la oficina al 302-576-2140 y le urjo a las familias que por favor traten de involucrar a sus niños en los niños escuchos, que es algo muy positivo y algo que puede ayudarle a sus hijos ser los hombres de mañana.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming out here and sharing all this important information with us. I appreciate it.
De nada.
The Latin American Community Center held their annual proclamation ceremony to basically proclaim Hispanic Heritage Month. And before we go ahead and show you some of the highlights that took place at this event, I just want to say congratulations to Councilwoman at Large, Maria Cabrera. She is the first Hispanic woman to be serving on council floor here in the city of Wilmington. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very proud to have this honor to serve my community in this fashion.
Wonderful, and I'm so glad you're on board. Latinos are shaping the world here.
Yes, we are.
Well, on behalf of all of us here at the WITN-22, I'm Yesenia Taveras. Thank you so much for watching.